Okay, now talking about data centers, because all those solutions are running somewhere where a lot of energy is being used. So, what does it say? Morgan Stanley report: the global data center industry is projected to emit approximately 2.5 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide by 2030. So that means, again, like we are talking about cloud-based data centers, we are talking about hybrid data centers, and especially large companies are going away from on-prem data centers to cloud, which is of course very efficient. But like looking at these numbers are scary too. Like, what is your opinion to advise those solution architects, those CTOs, to take care of this while they are designing their solutions, while they are working on some solving some problem like we just mentioned about recycling things, because this is the time to design that level of ecosystem, so that like when all those things are required few years later, 10 years later down the line, we are ready for that.
Right.
We're not reactive in that case. So what is your thought? Like, how should companies approach that?
Yeah, there's two sides to it that you mentioned, and one is, what are we doing with the data? Can we focus on creating solutions that are data driven or digital that solve real challenges and real problems, like the logistics problem that you mentioned? So intelligent routing, or using data to figure out how they can do ride sharing so that those trucks are full when they go. It's almost like Uber for your package, right? So to make sure that those trucks are picking up the maximum number along their route and sharing across different ecosystems. So I think there's a lot of sort of data marketplaces that will come into play that will help with that, and that we can focus on being able to use our resources to the maximum amount. So that's one part of it. But then, as you said, the data has to live somewhere. It's got to be processed somewhere, and it's in all these very power hungry data centers.
Yeah.
And there are no easy answers for all of this, right? Like, we don't want to pretend like all of this is super easy and snap your fingers and all of a sudden everything's sustainable. But it takes a lot of work from a lot of smart people trying to build these solutions. For data centers, a lot of times it really is just how clean is the grid? Where is it located? How much are you spending on cooling? Are you locating it in somewhere that's cool or cold? So there are innovators who are putting data centers under the ocean, or burying them under the ground, or putting them in very cold regions. There's even a Y Combinator company that just came out that's looking at putting data centers in space where it's very, very cold. Who knows how that'll all play out, but that's one part of it. So how can you use what's abundant nearby to solve the problem that you have scarcity around? So there was a great book called Jugad Innovation, or MacGyver Innovation, by a writer named Navi Rajau. And he said it so well that he went out into India and found all these really innovative solutions where people were building things like refrigerators that were made out of mud and water. But they understood that evaporation is what causes refrigeration. So they would create a mesh of mud in the back of this container and have water poured over it, and that evaporation would cool what was inside of it. And he said, these are so brilliant. There's so many brilliant people out there that can take a look at what is abundant locally that they can use to solve these challenges. So that's one piece, is where can you locate the data center? How can you develop things in areas where you're not going to be paying for cooling in middle of the Arizona desert, right? Maybe you'll get some solar out of there, but most of it's paying for air conditioning.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about small modular reactors, so very advanced, like Gen 3, Gen 4 nuclear reactors that are small enough to be commercial and industrial size, but large enough to power these hungry data centers. It's going to take a while for these things to come onto the market for a reasonable cost. But today there's a lot to do with optimization, and a lot of that's data driven. So where are you doing your power hungry compute? When are you doing it? So there's a lot of compute that doesn't need to be done instantaneously. There's a lot of data that's kind of sitting there and doesn't need to be analyzed this very second. Can you do that at times of day when energy costs are lower, when the grid is cleaner? Because those things change throughout the day. And often if you're computing that and you're running all that data at a time when everybody else is doing it, you're paying the highest price. So your business incentive is, what data can I now compute around midnight or when people aren't using it. So can I shift those loads around? Can I shift those loads geographically to another data center that has cheaper energy or cleaner energy at the time? All of this can be done with digital solutions and AI, but that's sort of the optimization piece before we get to a fully clean grid that can run these data centers. But even when we get there, we don't want to just waste energy because we've got tons of it available.
That's right.
Right. So we want to optimize first and then make sure that we're powering these things with as much renewable energy as possible.
Yeah. Especially these cloud providers, the big ones, they have different rates for different time to use because they know that like resources are more available during the off-peak hours and they discount rates big time, and so many like low priority processes can really work during that time, and it works for most businesses.
Right.
Yeah. So that's one way to look at it, but it's very big picture. All these things they sound great, but they may take time. By the time like one generation may go to the retirement age, could happen there. So again, like if we want to optimize existing data centers to the point like they use less energy and they're more optimized and still provide the same level of productivity. I've also read somewhere that like Google's cooling system is so well optimized, all their data centers are saving like over 40% of energy just by optimizing their cooling system, which is a great example. Like they use existing resources to cool down the data centers at the same place. I don't know what they did, but again, look, whatever they did, others can also learn from it.
Yeah, and Google actually also put out a great paper on how their data centers use carbon-free energy during different times of the day. So they're also a great leader in what we were talking about of shifting loads to different times of day and different locations. So that's freely available out there for anybody to download.
Yeah, right. Because if we make these kind of changes at macro level, small changes, widespread will also help big time rather than few big players make changes versus like a lot of small changes can make up to that one big change as well. What I'm thinking is like, of course, a lot of companies are talking about sustainability, but how sustainable they really are inside, nobody really can measure from outside, right? They produce companies like big companies, especially public companies, like we can rely on their data. But still, like companies, small companies, startups, they use AI and all those things, and they still don't know like how to help on the environment side.